Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the very first episode of Real Talk Podcast. My name is Adrian and this is Kaz.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Today we have two amazing guests. Firstly, we have our guest Sheikh Luqman.
Jazakallah, Adrian, for having me. Assalamu alaikum, Kaz. Looking good today?
Mate, you're always looking good. MashaAllah.
Now, alhamdulillah, for our very, very first episode of Real Talk Podcast, we have a pioneer in the Islamic community in Queensland. Not just the Islamic community, the community in Queensland altogether. This man, when we had first decided that we were going to start a podcast and we had thought about who was the perfect person to bring up on the first episode, and we had come up with Hajji Hussin Goss.
Hold on.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair for inviting me here, Alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah.
on the first podcast.
We are so thrilled to have you here. I had never met you. I met you about a couple of weeks ago.
You haven't met me?
I did meet you, but the first time that I met you was actually a couple of weeks ago. And I had heard so many stories about you before that.
It was the first time you plucked up the courage to actually come and greet you.
Yeah.
I think you were starstruck.
And then when
I'm quite intimidating, yeah.
But the thing is, your charisma. Your charisma is your personality. You've got this sense of kindness and likability about you. And as soon as I met you, I was like, oh, wow, I'm really, really excited to get into this guy's life and to actually understand what you have been through, because you are a community leader, not just for the Muslims, but also for the community in Queensland altogether. So that's why I'm personally really, really excited to allow the audience to be able to kind of delve into your life as well, and also to learn a little bit more about Hajji Hussin Goss.
Yeah. Wow.
Sorry, I got a first question before we begin. There's actually a big debate in this amongst the studio.
Between all of us. Actually.
Between all of us about yourself. Is it Hajji Hussin Goss or is it Hajji Hussin Goss?
Well, I've been to Hajj, mashallah. I've been lucky enough to go to Hajj 4 or 5 times, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Of course, my first name, my names are Muhammad Hassan, Hussin,
yeah,
and of course Goss, Goss. So, how do you pronounce Hassan, Hussein? I'll leave it to the public.
Okay.
So Hajji Hassan, just to come in quickly, you were actually born in Australia, or were you born overseas, or give us that background?
I'm born on the Gold Coast.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah, our family's lived on the Gold Coast for over 100 years, mashallah.
Oh, subhanallah.
Wow.
Of course, we're the first family of Muslims on the Gold Coast.
Wow.
You know. Back in 1900, my grandfather came back from Pakistan,
Mashallah.
India in those days,
Yeah.
and he came here in 1900.
Subhanallah.
Mashallah. So, and he came through Perth in those days, and then over to the Gold Coast.
So you said that he had come from Pakistan. How did he come over? So, like, what was his main reason or the purpose of coming over to Australia, migrating to Australia?
Well, in those days there was no borders. There's no immigration problems, and I think it was like populating Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the call went out in those days all around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, being a Commonwealth country.
Yeah. What was your grandfather's main industry? I mean, what did he do?
Well, he was a farmer.
Okay,
Yeah.
mashallah.
In those days, farming was, you didn't have big industries,
Yeah.
So he was a farmer at the Gold Coast. He grew bananas and pineapples and sold them to the local public.
And where he migrated from, was he doing a similar thing in
I
India,
think
Pakistan
so. They
at
would
the
have been
time?
farmers in those days.
Yes.
In those days, yes.
Yeah, subhanallah. So getting into Hajji Hassan a little bit more. So tell us about your childhood days, your childhood upbringing, and how
Hajji
things were
Hassan
in those
growing
days.
up in Australia as a young Muslim
Yes,
man.
mashallah.
Well, as a young Muslim brother, subhanallah, in those days, especially on the Gold Coast, as I said, there was only my cousins
Yeah.
and my family. There was about 17 of us between the two families.
Wow.
And we all went to one school, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We went to Labrador Primary School,
Yeah.
and then we all migrated to the high school, to Southport State High.
Yeah.
But, there was no Islam in those days, really.
Yeah.
Of course, there was no mosque or any Islamic centre.
Yeah.
We would pray in each other's houses,
Mm-hmm.
and that was at 79 Robert Street, Southport.
Mashallah.
Mashallah.
Yeah, and that property still exists now.
Yeah.
Subhanallah.
And it has a small musalla which fits approximately 10 people in there.
Oh,
Wow,
subhanallah.
I've never,
That's
I
amazing.
didn't
Yeah.
know that at all.
So
Yeah.
growing up, did anyone ever ask, or did you ever say, "Hey, I'm a Muslim," and they'll be like, "What's a Muslim?" And
Yeah.
what was it like?
Well, look, the identification of Muslims in those days, as what I can remember, wasn't much.
Yeah.
Because we were brown skinned, we were sort of picked on as a coloured person,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and not as a Muslim.
Yeah.
When we went to primary school, I can remember myself, because they always say their Christian religion was prominent, of course. So when they say their prayers, we would have to go outside and stand outside the door.
Wow.
Yeah. And then when they finished, then we came back in. So I can remember that plainly, yeah.
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 Was that, and that's something your parents actually mentioned to the school and said, listen here, when this is happening.
Or was that from your parents, or was that from the actual school?
I'm sure it was from our parents.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm 100%.
So then I guess
sure.
that identity to sort of instill Islam at a young age, to say, listen, you are, different to a degree, but not
Correct.
different.
Yeah, correct.
At
So
the same time.
so
yeah.
like that's the sort of thing that we had to endure, in
Yeah.
those days,
My mum shares a story. She grew up in Parks, 3 hours west of Sydney, and she said racism back then was either you're white from England, and then it'll be against the Wogs, the Greeks and the Italians,
Yeah.
and that was the racism. And then she said after that it went to the Asians and whatnot. But you would have grown up in the time where just a slightly tanned person.
Well, being on the Gold
Mashallah.
Coast, we all try to get a tan, because of the beach and all that sort of stuff. Because our parents would take us down to the beach in those
Yeah.
days, because the surf was great.
So you couldn't pull it off as, no, this is a tan. It's not.
no.
Because trust
No,
me, you've
we're
got
definitely coloured,
you've
mate.
got one of the most you've got one of the most Aussiest accents that I've heard in a long
And,
time.
coming into that Aussie accent,
Like-
because I think I sort of started mentioning to you guys that I actually, Hajji Hussin was from Queensland, was one of the first people I got to experience, because and Hajji mentioned it as well. I went to one of those fundraising dinners in Sydney probably maybe 7-8 years ago. And I mean, just seeing Hajji Hussin up there doing the auction, like I was like, whoa. I thought, if the ladies can't see this guy, they will think that this is the most Australian person on the other side of this mic, not realizing that, hey, this is a gentleman that hails from another background.
Subhanallah.
No, alhamdulillah, I've had that hundreds of times.
Yeah.
When did you convert?
Yeah. in my
I've had that many times.
25 years or 28 years, I've copped it about 75 times as well.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. But that comes to the point, like, so you've said, growing up in the Gold Coast, there was 17 Muslims, and now there's this huge number. You've seen Islam develop on the Gold Coast. I can't put my finger on it. But what do you think has helped Islam grow on the Gold Coast?
Well, firstly, of course, establishing a centre where people could come to one general place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this case, right next to the mosque was the Imam's house,
Yeah.
and that was our centre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That property was built in '99, and that was built as a mosque, and then it was always going to be converted back to a house. Alhamdulillah. And in 1995, the big mosque was finished. The Gold Coast Mosque was finished. When we moved into the little place, the Imam's house, which was the centre in those days, we had 7 people pray Jummah. 7 people.
SubhanAllah.
And there was a ladies section, a male section, of course. It's got wudu areas, a toilet, showers, everything in there. And then when we left the centre after 4 years, we left it praying 250 people.
Subhanallah.
And now, of course, we moved to the big centre. At the first Jummah in the new centre, there was about 300 people on the first Jummah.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah. And now, of course, we get around about 800 to 1,000 on a Friday, MashaAllah. So,
And what
yeah,
I guess a extensive percentage of that would be a lot of tourists just coming through as well that are
no,
that
our
are down for the
general
weekend.
Jummahs are around about the 800 mark.
Subhanallah.
Of course, 60 different nationalities on the Gold Coast now
Yeah.
that practicing Islam, since the beginning of this year, and I did a calculation, alhamdulillah,
Yeah.
by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has opened up 35 new Muslims just this year
Oh, subhanallah.
that I've done myself personally, converted them. We've had many more,
Yeah.
but I've just counted about 35, mashallah.
Yeah.
I think I want to go back to Hajji Hussin, and I think Hajji Hussin mentioned something very interesting earlier about that beach lifestyle.
Yes.
So I want to go there and talk about. I think you mentioned surf. I think I heard the word in there. Has Hajji did Hajji Hussin growing up? Did you play any sport? Were you into any sport? Did you
Yeah, I'm
enjoy
a
any
rugby
sport?
league player.
Yes.
Oh, mashallah. There we go.
I represented the Gold Coast a couple of years.
Mashallah.
In those days, we'd play in Toowoomba from the Gold Coast,
Yeah.
represent the Gold Coast for Toowoomba.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a good player, if I don't mind me saying myself.
Mashallah, mashallah.
And I follow rugby league still now.
Oh yes, what team do you follow?
I was going to say you're
Parramatta.
Parramatta
I'm a
fan?
Parramatta fan.
Come on.
Oh, no.
Hey, Kimmy, I was going to say Gold Coast or Broncos.
No, not in those two. Definitely not in the Broncos or Titans.
Yeah. Oh, subhanallah. Yeah, no, I'm myself personally. We had a good win on the weekend. I'm a Manly Sea Eagles fan.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good game.
It's a tough game. We sustained a bit of injuries, but I think overall.
But in those days, they played in weights.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You're not in
In the age groups.
Yeah, so it was more weight.
Yeah.
So I was about 4'7" in those days, whatever that was. I was light,
Subhanallah.
but I'm still light. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
See, when there was no mosque on the Gold Coast,
Yeah.
then we would travel in a vehicle to Holland Park Mosque because that was the only mosque there.
Yeah.
And my uncle, which his name was Shafi Goss,
Mm-hmm.
he was the builder of Holland Park Mosque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the main builder. Yeah.
So you would travel all the way to the Holland Park Mosque.
Yeah.
How long would that take you to travel that far?
Okay. In those days, there was only one lane up
Yep.
and one lane back. Mm-hmm. And subhanAllah, it would take you about maybe 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Because the road wasn't straight like the M1 is now. Of
Yeah.
course, there's many little towns on the way. Cars weren't very good in those days.
Yeah.
And my father, he owned a small truck.
Yeah.
So we'd all get in the back of the truck. And it was cold and windy and so on and so forth. But it was fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we would only come twice a year. And that was for the 2 Eids virtually.
Subhanallah.
Yeah.
All the way through the Holland Park Mosque.
Yeah.
And I think Holland Park Mosque is over 100 years old as well.
Yes,
Isn't it?
yes.
Yeah, subhanallah.
And Haji Rain was the main, Haji Abdul Rain was the main imam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Uncle Shafi, my uncle, was married to his sister,
Oh, okay.
which was Raymith Bibi.
Yeah.
And then on one Eid, I think it was the Eid, they were travelling back and they had a very bad accident around Daisy Hill.
Subhanallah.
That's what I was told. And then she passed away.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, she passed away. And it was sad. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. And my uncle was in hospital for many, many months and months. But he survived.
Subhanallah.
So that's the hardship that the
The community
pioneers
faced at that time.
No,
Subhanallah.
so that's a great way to go in the path of Allah.
To keep our religion, I think our parents understood that we had some connection with a mosque.
Yeah.
When my father passed away, because he obtained this land from the Gold Coast City Council where the mosque is now.
Yeah.
But he passed away. And then they asked me to join. There was a small committee there of 6 people.
Yeah.
And they said to me, come and join the committee. I said, never been on a committee before. And I said, what do you have to do? They said, no, you can be the treasurer. I said, what have I got to do? They said, do nothing. I said, oh, well, I'll give it a go, But knowing myself, I'm not a person to sit
back.
And then they told us, because, being young, not taking too much notice of what your parents are doing, they said, oh, your father got this land to build a mosque. And I remember saying to the committee, I said, who is going to come here? There's no Muslims here, and no one's going to need a mosque here. What would you want to build a mosque here for?
Yeah.
Well, the rest is history.
Like if you
Allah
build
subhanahu wa ta'ala says you plan,
yeah,
but he's a better planner.
much better.
Subhanallah.
And look at this now. We never thought we'd ever see 60 different nationalities on the Gold Coast, over 10,000 Muslims there.
Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah,
But if you build a nice community, like, so when you in that stages where you said, okay, nobody is going to come here, what were the foundations that you built to grow that community?
Well, in my head, with all due respect,
Yeah.
and it's the same old saying in Australia: build it,
And they will
And
come.
and they will come.
Yeah.
And in this case, with all due respects, we built it with the right intentions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, they came out of the woodwork.
I remember when we moved to Lismore in 2000, and Lismore at that time took 3.5 hours before
Yes.
all the roads. So we'd have to wake up super early to go to Gold Coast. So we were there in 2000. I remember at that time I was still a young lad, and the imam was giving money, and we were so excited. We'll go there, get the money, there's food, and then we'll drive home and sleep. But that was our Eid in Lismore. But alhamdulillah, there was Gold Coast, and we were so excited. Like really, I was looking forward to Gold Coast because there's so much different food.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
alhamdulillah, without sort of not bragging and then saying that my hometown's great, but it is a different atmosphere on Eid.
Yeah.
It's a great atmosphere, especially after the Eid Salat. You can't really, I know up in Brisbane, I used to come to Brisbane for the Eid Salats, but alhamdulillah, there's a great atmosphere on the coast on Eids. Yeah.
Hajji Hussin, just coming back to those early days again, what did you guys do for, and I guess, a critical question, for halal meat, back then? And I think that is probably a segue question into, you getting into the transportation business to a degree.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So, I hope no one from the Gold Coast City Council is listening, but back in the 70s and 60s,
Yeah.
we would, of course, there was a lot of farms around.
Yeah.
So we would then go to the farms and bring something back and slaughter it under your house, and then, of course, then we'd have to clean up the mess and freeze everything. In those days, no butcher shops.
Yep.
Actually, where Century Cove is, at the main gate where the security, that was a farm right on top of it with a security gate when you go into Century Cove.
Right.
That was the main farm. I can remember plain as day right now that we would go up there and we'd slaughter some sheep or a couple of cows, and then divide it up between the families.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. So they were good days. Good days.
So when you guys were doing, how many families were around at that time when you were?
Well, in those days when we were halaling ourselves, it was
Yeah.
just out for my cousins and my uncle and our families. So it was just the two families.
Yeah.
But up till 1975, there was no Muslims there. But after 1975, people started to come.
coming.
Steady, they started to come out of the woodwork,
And where did they come from? Were they Australian-born Muslims? Because there are a lot of Australian-born Muslims today, or were they?
And they're multicultural. They're from Bosnia, Yugoslavia. There was, of course, Fijians. There were a bit of everybody.
Yeah.
And then steady, of course, they started to come. There was maybe one revert or something like that in those days. Very little, But they were all over the show, really.
So you're saying there's very few reverts. So would you saying that there was very rarely you see a what you call Westerner Muslim?
You wouldn't see a revert. I couldn't remember anyone that reverted back in the 70s or even 75 or even 80s.
Yeah.
No.
Subhanallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So there must be what do you feel that kind of made people open up to Islam?
Well, of course, we don't want to go back to September the 11th, but I mean that's the starting point of Islam. Changing.
And I mean that happened in 2001 as well, and the mosque just opened opened in 2000. Or no, it was 95.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys were running for a few years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, September 11th changed the whole world, of course.
No.
And as we know, it was a tragic situation. But, some lies were told, of course, and some truths were told. Islam has grown since then. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Islam will be spread to all the corners of the earth. And it's continued to happen. If you look in Europe and we look in America, UK, what can I say? Everyone knows. It's the fastest growing religion. I've heard now 2 billion Muslims in the world and growing, And when I convert some of our brothers and sisters, I always say to them, you have joined the biggest family in the world now. You have someone to support you anywhere you go.
MashaAllah.
And that's what it's all about. We are one. We are united. And that's what we have to stay, inshallah.
Khair. I want to come back to Hajji Hussin again.
No,
I know
exactly.
I'm giving him all the. I'm trying to get very personal and giving him all the personal questions. So, how did you become an auctioneer?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. Our first fundraiser is when we were building the Imam's quarters or the masala or the mosque then. So there was a one Bosnian brother.
Yeah.
We had a fundraiser in Cascade Gardens at Broadbeach, and they had a truck, little small pickup truck there, and
Yeah.
it had some items in there.
Yeah.
And I asked the brother, I said, he was actually doing it Bosnian, virtually in very broken English. And me, I said to him, he said, "You want to have a go?" I said, "Oh, look, I've never done this before, but I'll see." And then, mashallah, I've got a bit of a talent.
I guess you have to click into that mode where
gotta
you
get into
start
that
looking
mode, yeah.
really fast and just
And
So-
mashallah, it really started from there.
Yeah.
And then it just exploded.
How long ago was that, Hajji? How long
Well,
ago?
I've been doing auctions about 23 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you like I said, you
Raised
ended
about
up
$22 million. Alhamdulillah, for the Muslim community.
Subhanallah.
And also I've done it for the Queensland Labor Party.
Yeah.
I've done it for the Liberal Party at Michael's Restaurant.
Nice.
And Imran Khan, the
Cricketer.
cricketer,
Yeah.
for his cancer clinic. Hazem El Nasri from the Bulldogs when he launched his book here in Brisbane.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
And alhamdulillah, it's
Man
it's
of
a
many
bit of a
talents. Huh?
yeah, but it's even the Aussies say you do better than us. You know? The one we did for the Liberal Party is when John Howard was in power,
Yeah.
and John Howard was on the news, and he was saying those days everyone that comes to Australia should speak English.
Yeah.
So no, it was for the Liberal Party. Sorry, at Michael's.
Yeah.
So we went up on the stage, and they said it was your turn, my turn. There's only 7 or 8 items, you know, and that was a real crucial time then,
Yeah.
especially for Muslims, because they were aiming at the Muslims.
Yeah.
So they had these Labor boys, the big waterside fellas that work on the wharfs, big boys, and there was a mixed community. There were some Muslims and not many at the dinner, and of course Chinese there, and there was a great mixed community. So me, look a bit funny going up on the stage.
They're expecting what's coming
I walked
next.
up on the stage, and I turned around, and I said, "I'll do this one in English tonight." And it brought the roof down, broke the ice, smashed it, alhamdulillah, smashed it.
Alhamdulillah.
And then I started walking off the stage, again, a bit of an applause. And this big fella, about 7 foot tall, probably about 150 kilo, big boy, stood up, he grabbed my hand, and he said, "Buddy," he said, "you bloody done a good job." So if you can get the Aussies to say that, alhamdulillah,
You've done
that
it.
was a great demonstration,
Yeah.
not for myself,
Yeah.
that the Muslims can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's what we got to put into all of our people, young and old,
Yeah.
that we all have a talent, that Allah has given us a talent, no matter what it is. It could be reading Quran, it could be doing an auction, driving a car,
Yeah.
just being a nice person. Everybody has a talent. And inshallah, we just have to exploit that talent with our community.
That's beautiful.
No matter where they are.
That's really powerful. And touching on that topic there, so, you, in the beginning, we had spoken about, your parents. What kind of, growing up as a Muslim in a very non-Muslim society, what characteristics and what foundations do you feel that your parents have really built into you that you continue to pass onto the community
That's
as
a
well?
great question. My father was a fruiterer. In those days, he would go door to door selling fruit
Yeah.
to raise his family.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he did this for 30 years.
Yeah.
He was the only person on the Gold Coast that had a legal license from the Gold Coast City Council,
Yeah.
what they call as a hawker's license. So you could legally go door to door selling fruit. So he had his runs. He worked 6 days a week and sold fruit. Everybody knew that he was Muslim.
Yeah.
And he gave soft dawah.
Yeah.
His akhlaq would just
His
come
akhlaq, exactly right. His akhlaq was that he could assimilate with the people.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he would stop and pray, when it was time to pray, and then stay on his run and go to the next customer and so on. So,
Yeah.
so he made a living like that. So that, if you want to call it, was a great thing to do in those days, and to have the strength to do that,
And the iman.
and the iman to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy.
No.
In those days, it was very tough. But mashallah, people respected him.
Yeah.
And even people still talk about him after a long, long time. That we knew Mr. Goss.
Yeah.
We knew Mr. Goss. He was the fruiterer that went door to door. Even some of the councillors have said this.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, it starts with a spark.
Yeah.
And well, maybe that was the spark. Allah knows better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want you to read something out. I found this. And this was sent.
Would you like to read it, Hajji?
No, I think,
Bismillah. No, you
I'm
should
not a
read
good
this.
reader, so I'll get Luqman to read it. This was sent as a request from Hajji Abdul Rain, from a brother from UK.
SubhanAllah.
And it just gives you something on how much we didn't have in those days. And it was 20th of September, 1971.
MashaAllah.
Wow, so this is
Subhanallah.
way before we were all born.
Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear, on a request from Mr. A.R. Rain, I am sending herewith a copy of the Holy Quran in 3 volumes and 5 copies of the elementary teachings of Islam. The letter is a useful guide for practicing Islam. I hope your family will be able to read and understand the Holy Quran, which is the source of salvation for all mankind. One word of advice. For a Muslim, 5 daily prayers are a must. These prayers were given to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, during his journey to heaven in the Mi'raj, which took place on the night of 26th, 27th of Rajab, i.e. the current month of Islam. Prayers not only help us to keep our bodies clean, but also save us from other evil influences of this world. I have myself lived in England for many years. I have never found it difficult to observe my daily prayers. The only difficulty was to find a place to pray. Usually it had to be the chapel of my college, or a local church, or a grass field in a park in the summer months. I may add that the midday and the afternoon prayers can be combined if necessary and said in the form of 4 + 4 = 8 rakats at any time before sunset. Similarly, the Maghrib evening prayers can be combined with Isha prayer late night in the form of 3 + 2 + 2, 3 + 4 + 2 + 3 witr = 12 rakats, and these can be said any time before midnight. I wish you and your family the best of health, both physical and spiritual. I shall look forward to hearing from you. Yours sincerely, M. Masood, CSP, Mr. M.S. Goss. And this is the address. So this was an instruction, something like a synopsis of Salah.
What we got to understand, in those days, no emails,
Yep.
no faxes.
Subhanallah.
Very hard to communicate.
Yeah.
Maybe, as we know, we never had Qurans.
Yes.
Like the Qurans these days, they're on everybody's table.
Yeah.
15 Qurans, we don't read them.
Yeah.
But they're there. And they're giving them away like lollies.
Yeah.
In those days, he sent this all the way from, I think, UK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know who this person is, but I found this. So maybe one day he'll turn up. But what we got to, if we look at the content of that, it's simple. The Quran and pray your salat.
Yeah.
Ya Allah.
We don't have to be alims, we don't have to be muftis, we don't have to be imams. We look at the basics of our religion. The difference between us and other people is not how we look. It's not how we look. It's not how we dress. It's our salat.
Subhanallah.
That makes us Muslims.
Yeah.
Because the salats will take us somewhere.
Yeah.
No good saying my name is Muhammad, but my name is Hassan or Ahmed. Means nothing to us. We have George now, and Bill, and Jane,
And
and
Adrian.
Susan that are
Okay.
Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He will replace us if we don't practice our religion. and it's happening. The people are coming, mashallah. It's important that this content of this letter that we'll put into our own lives. Mine first. Mine first.
I love the content of it. The fact that he only has very little to say.
Yeah.
Those are
And he hits the point. He
Hits the
gets
point.
the point home.
But the thing is, it's not a new message. It's the same message that imams, anyone, you go to the Jummah, there's constant lectures about Quran and Salah. It was relevant in 1971. It's relevant today. It was relevant in the past, and it'll continue to be relevant. And it's for us to take heed of the wasiyah.
Ameen.
And mashallah, so like, and also it really shows one thing, like people did not have much knowledge of Islam. So I'm trying, he's going, okay, there's a book about Islam, but I want to just make Islam also a little bit more easy for you. So I'm going to teach you about combining salahs. And that's a really beautiful message to send from England to Australia, that Islam is easy.
Yeah.
Inshallah. So Jazakallah, we'll make sure.
And also, at the last part, you can pray your salat anywhere.
Yeah.
And these days we have no excuse.
Yeah.
We can't say the boss. We can't say there's no ground, because the whole world, the whole earth is a masjid.
And we can also see so much to take from this letter is he's so comfortably saying that I'll go to the church. I mean, what kind of relationship did the Muslims have with
them back then? SubhanAllah.
It's beautiful. So that was addressed to your father.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. So this man. So how do you know this man?
No, I don't know him. I found this and I photocopied it.
Well, we'll put it up on the. We'll put it up so everyone can actually see this. This is part of our archive, inshallah.
It'd be great. Yes.
Definitely.
Alhamdulillah. So that's a piece of piece of Islamic history.
That we have,
MashaAllah.
Jazakallah.
It's about nearly 45-year-old, is it?
No, this is
71.
no, we're coming close to
71.
48 years.
48 years.
Mathematics skills.
48 years. Subhanallah.
So that and I, as Imam Luqman was reading that, I saw that touched Hajji Hussin Goss.
Yes, because I of course I'm an emotional person. In all ways.
The laugh after.
I was at a nikah yesterday and I was speaking on behalf of the boy's family, mashallah, at Broadstown, and because this boy never left Islam, and mashallah, he's only 19 years of age, and alhamdulillah, I spoke some good him, and when I first did the speech, I said to the father of the bride, I said, do you want to hear the good parts or the bad parts? And he was sweating.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, Hajji, please, just all the good parts. Well, I said, I've got news for everyone here. I said, there's only good about this boy. Only good. Because I've seen him, I cut his hair when he was born, and I haven't seen him grow up. And mashallah, he's only 19, he did his nikah last night, mashallah. So, and I was thinking about this, and someone came to me, he said, we can't really say that to many of our youth.
Yeah.
It's a shame, sad. If everyone could follow his path, then we'd have a great community, inshallah.
So touching on this topic again, so, we've discussed, growing up as a Muslim in Australia back then. What is an issue that being a community man, being involved so heavily in the community, what do you feel is an issue that a lot of youth are facing today? It would be, you say there's no excuse for not praying, but what's an issue that a very common issue that you see youth facing today?
And another point as well is, I think, with the current landscape as well within Australia, I've been traveling in areas as well where it's weird though, because sometimes you feel like, all eyes on you type of thing. People are constantly watching you. You may be a little bit fearful in certain areas to actually, pull the mat out, and actually make salah. Just, potentially thinking about taking your own safety into consideration, and then you sort of just try to push those thoughts to the back of your head and go, no, I'm doing this, and if anyone's going to ask me about it, I'm just going to deal with it when it happens. You know what I mean? And I think it comes back to, I guess, the current climate that we find ourselves in today. And I guess another big thing as well with youth, which is, being paraded in the media at the moment, or being discussed in the media, I should say, extensively, is mental health. That's become a big problem in the community. I don't know if maybe Hajji Hussin can touch on that from your experience.
We're speaking on the youth. Our youth, and we're talking about anyone that's under 30.
Muslims growing up
Okay.
as Muslims, yes.
As so-called leaders, we have a responsibility. As so-called organisations, we have responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes, we're losing youth. We're losing youth in aspects that they're not turning away from Islam, but they have the name of Muhammad or Ahmed, and that's it. They're not fully involved in mainstream Islam.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word, they want to be gangsters and be Muslims at the same time. Well, it doesn't wash with us. We in Islam, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wasn't a gangster. He was a nice person. He was a good person. He was a simple person, and that's what Islam is: simple. And what we need is to harness our youth in every area, either be from Cairns to Tweed Heads. We need some, and I'm not going to use the word programs. Forget about programs. We need something that will join us together, unite us together on a cause, where we can work together to give them a better platform, to unite. We talk about we need good sportsmen. We need great Quran readers.
Yeah.
We need great business people. We need to fill all these gaps, and we need good politicians from state to federal to local. We need all those. And they can come from the Muslim youth because they are the people that are going to lead the way for the next 30 years. Now, how do we do this? It's a $64,000 question.
Yeah.
But we need to achieve it. And we can achieve it. Not in one hit. We just need to concentrate on certain good areas where we can move forward with the ones that are showing potential. Because if we get that sister and she becomes a local government member, and then she can implement for the ethnic community, not just for Muslims, programs, we can lift them up, then we have achieved something.
Yeah.
And we have some great talent, especially in the sisters.
Yeah.
We have some great talent. And we need to lift them up because now the voice is being heard through the females.
Yeah.
The males are finished.
Yeah.
Except for myself. I'm still here.
The man
is still
He's
standing.
the man.
The man is still standing.
I knew you'd love that. Yeah. But seriously, we need, and this is a great platform. Academy Live, this is the greatest platform that's happened in the last 20 years in Brisbane.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
And alhamdulillah, the brothers here, they've got the initiative to do this. And the sisters that are here, inshallah, this will grow onto something great.
Amen.
This platform will help so many of us. I don't want to be the person sitting here. I want my youth sitting with me. I hang with the youth. The youth hang with me. They know that. If you're listening out there, I want you in with me. I want to speak to you. I want to know what your problems are. I want you to be part of this program, inshallah.
Inshallah. And whoever does want to connect with Hajji Hussin Goss, we will leave his contact details below for you to get in contact with him. But again, touching on this, the purpose of this is to connect with the youth. For me personally, I want to hear, what's going on in the community. I want to hear what Hajji Hussin Goss is all about. I want to know your life, and I think that what you're telling us today is going to help people.
Inshallah.
Hajji,
Everybody has a story here.
Yes.
It's not. I don't want it to be about me. I'm a person to lift somebody up.
Yes.
I would rather the worst person in the room, to come sit with me, because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for the person with money although I'd love it. No, I'm not looking for the person. I'm looking for that simple person.
Yeah.
The person that has no friends.
Yeah.
The person that's come into the mosque or into this gathering, to grab him, hang on to him,
Yeah.
and make him feel that he's $1 million.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about. And if everybody does that, can you imagine what type of community we have?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's about.
SubhanAllah, and without fail, I think every time I've gone down to the Gold Coast and I've bumped into Hajji Hussin, you know, when you get that greeting, you get that smile, it's generally uplifting, you know. And SubhanAllah, you're just making everyone feel welcome at the end of the day.
Subhanallah.
I wish.
I got a story of Hajji helping us. So it's a very embarrassing story for the crew, but we talk about it to reflect on it. We started a satay business. Look at the
Hajji
face.
Hassan's already laughing straight away, so you know it's going to be a good one.
Right. So and like we're trying to find places. We're trying to find places to. Hey, we got to try and make money. We got to hustle. And say, okay, look, Gold Coast has a lot of people. Let's call Hajji up and ask him. And I had so much butterflies. I remember making the phone calls. I had butterflies in my stomach. Called Hajji up. Can we have a little stall at your center, please? And the response was so welcoming. He's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, I was waiting for like some sort of bureaucratic process through it. Send me an email. So just come set up. And use the kitchen, use the facility, use everything, and Alhamdulillah, the rest is history.
I'm the worst person to deal with. Everyone knows that. Okay, but I have got a good heart somewhere. I have got a good heart. You know, yes. Yeah, people sometimes think I'm the worst person, but alhamdulillah, they like to love me in the end.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Now I remember that very plain because I knew that the brothers here were trying to raise some funds for their institution. And mashallah, you know, if we can be a part of doing something good, then inshallah, that's what we're all about. You know, in this case, and I don't know if you made a fortune, but good luck.
Jazakallah. But I mean, we have ups and downs. We have to go through our, you know, you got to go through your low points to build up to the high points to where we are today. And Hajji Hussin knows all about, you know, in your time,
like
ups and downs.
we all go through our own, like Imam said, our own paths, you know, and, you know, again, getting a bit personal here, you know, what were some of your low points? If you don't mind me asking, but, you know, because there's someone out there that's going through their own personal low points. You know, I've gone through mine. Imam Luqman's gone through his. Kaz has gone through his. Hajji,
Yeah.
what are some of your low points? And what's some...
How'd you get out of it?
Yeah, and what's made you who you are? Because you're this beautiful man. We want to know.
Look, losing your parents, it's not easy. It's not easy, you know. Even though they came from a different country and I'm born here, and my brothers and sisters are born here, and we're Aussie kangaroos and so on.
Yeah.
Losing them, as anyone would know, that it does take a part of your heart away, you know. I lost my father first, of course. Lost my mother. So those things do affect you.
Yeah.
They go, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you know, that everyone will leave this earth. Okay. And of course we have to be prepared for this, of course, you know. But it's not easy,
No.
you know.
You never prepare.
And, you know, myself, this is a low point. But, you know, I had a business in Brisbane, and at the end of losing my father or my mother, I think, then I sold my business in Brisbane and virtually retired for a little while, and then started another business, alhamdulillah. It took me about 4 years to pick myself up. But in between those 4 years, I was able to put my head and build the masjid.
Yeah.
We go overseas with two other brothers, collect some funding, and built the centre. And it took 18 months to build it. Mashallah, we collected $1 million, alhamdulillah, in 94, and finished it. So, and then I started another business. So that was a high point and low point, if you want to call it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, you know, everyone has issues, and I sort of, I've got issues like everyone else,
But how did you dig deep?
I don't display my issues too much.
How did you dig deep to get yourself out? It's like, where was the catalyst that changed?
Well, with all due respect, and I don't want to use the old cliche, salat, helping people.
Dua.
Of course, dua, because Allah's the one that will answer them, inshallah. Working back in the community. And no matter what people say, I've been called thief because I was the treasurer at the Gold Coast Mosque. I've been called all that, but I kept driving. I kept driving because I knew I only fear Allah. I don't fear any human being. And I went through all that, that normal committee jargon, all that, community thing. What is he doing with my? But I don't fear Allah. Alhamdulillah, I'm happy, I'm clean. I can leave this world clean, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So all these sort of things, Allah puts them in front of you to test you. People will talk about imams, they'll talk about such and such. These will happen. And they'll talk about our youth, they'll talk about some of our community leaders. What are they doing? What are they not doing? But at the end of the day, fear Allah first. Okay? Stick to the right path, the Siratul Mustaqim. And inshallah, pick yourself up. Don't turn to drugs. Don't turn to alcohol. Because if you think that is the way out, then it is the way that's going to put you down. So everybody will have an issue, but what we have to do is focus on where we're heading. Because we're only visiting this world. We're only visiting this world. So we do as much as we can of goodness and keep away from the badness. And our tests are there. They talk about mental health. Yes, people do go off the tracks because it does affect them. But at the end of the day, try to remember Allah, because Allah will be the one that will bring you back, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah. Inshallah, it's a great inspiration, and that's why we need to be close with our elders. We need to.
We need to connect with the community as well. I think a lot of I feel like I've become a better person once I've started to connect with the local community, and I feel like that's an important thing. And you've touched on it before. We need to put the platform out there where people can connect.
And inshallah, I think with this podcast, and that's something that we're trying to achieve as well, to a degree, is sort of get these stories out there, because there are some really amazing stories that need to be told, and not sort of just sit on the shelf, for no one to see.
This podcast, I think, inshallah, will open many doors for us.
Inshallah.
It will unite our community. Yes, we will have differences, and I will not agree with anybody on this table. But at the end of the day, we are talking about it. We have an outlet. The initiative here today, inshallah, the initiative here starting today, will be the initiative that will carry on for many, many years, inshallah. Because why? We have to go modern. We have to go modern. We have to go technology. And if we can gather the cream of the youth, the cream of the community, and have a debate, then inshallah we achieve something. And we want businesses behind this. We want business people to say how they became a millionaire, how they became wealthy, how they lost everything. There's not just ups, there's downs too. You get me?
100%.
So that's what we say about the millions.
Not telling you any of my secrets. That was just a line.
No. But as a community member, it's really nice. I got no share in the Goss trucking industry, but I do get excited seeing the Goss trucks.
We do all the time. And
I know
I guess
the guy.
that's why I was trying to get down that track. But we do see the Goss trucks all over the place. Goss transportation. So can you just give us a little bit of insight. Just tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I started that about 20 years ago, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
I've got 3 boys, mashallah. And they were getting bigger, and I said, I've got to get off my backside and do something again. Because I was happy building the mosque and serving the community. But, you've got to think of their future. So, alhamdulillah, I put a bit of money into it myself. And, we started with one small vehicle, and we've got a warehouse that holds about maybe 2,000 tonne of product.
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't buy product. We store product. We store and we're a logistics company.
Yeah.
Transportation and storage. And I started in this industry. Actually, I was on the dole. Yes,
that's
I
a
was
good
pretty proud. Getting some
Okay,
like,
that's a great inspiration for a lot of us.
exactly right. Yeah, you're getting
I was on the dole,
Yes, story.
and my wife told me, she said, "You better get up your backside and go get a job," because we're having a first baby,
Oh, wow.
So in those days, you apply out of the Courier Mail, because I was living in Brisbane at Tingalpa.
Yeah.
So what happened? I applied for the job, and it was all over the way to Rocklea. So it was a fair distance, but I had to go for the interview. And they turned up there and they said, they interviewed me, and then they rang me the next day and they said, "You didn't get the job." Yeah. I said, "No drama, it's all good, it's all good." Because the person that got there before me got the job.
Yeah.
So anyway, the next day after that, they rang me again, they said, "He didn't turn up." So I got it on rebound.
Yeah.
So I said, "All right, I better go." So it was a cold storage company.
Yeah.
And then, mashallah, I started driving a small truck, delivering ice cream, Paul's ice cream in those days.
Oh, mashallah.
It was great because we could eat as much as we could. And we steal a bit every now and then. Samples, only samples.
Samples.
Make sure it's fresh. Make sure it's fresh.
So, alhamdulillah, I just
Practicing.
sort of, I put my best foot forward, of course. And then they saw potential in me. They said, "We're going to take you off the vehicle, and then we're going to put you in the office." I said, "What am I going to do?" They said, "We're going to put you in the warehouse and run the warehouse." I said, "Okay." So they put me on a forklift and, did inventory and all that sort of stuff. And then from there they said, they liked that, and they put me in the office. They were stupid because I learned everything.
Oh, subhanAllah.
I learned everything. So I spent 8 years with them. And alhamdulillah, after that, one of the brothers, one of the boys that were working with me said, "Hey, listen, why don't we go start our own business?" I said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "They gave me a car. They gave me good wages. I was getting about $800 a week. I was happy, and they pay for my phone." So I said, "What more do you want?" They said, "You mental?" I said, "You can make twice as much as that." So he kept pushing me. So he said, "All right, okay." I said, "Well, you leave. I'll stay here for a little while." Thinking, we got to get some customers,
Yeah.
Even though I knew a lot of customers, I did a lot of marketing for them too. So then we rented a small warehouse and bought one vehicle.
Yeah.
And then, mashallah, we ended up building our own warehouse for about
Alhamdulillah.
1.2 million at Rocklea.
Alhamdulillah.
And then we ended up with about 25 trucks in Brisbane.
Mashallah.
And then when my parents passed away, I sold it.
Yeah.
I was going for about 8 years, and I sold it. And then
And that
I
company
retired.
was called
Back on the
Goss
dole?
No, that
Transportation?
was
It
called Freezer Freight Services.
Freezer Freight
So,
Services. Wow.
And I sold that, and then I retired for a little while, and then, mashallah, then I started Goss Brothers.
MashaAllah.
Because then I started it because I had a 5-year break,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's not easy to get back in the industry again.
No.
Yeah.
And so I had to use my name. That's the only reason I put the name on there,
Yeah.
So I used my own name, and then alhamdulillah, people got to know me again, and then mashallah, we
Was it Goss Brothers because of the boys that you had, or was it Goss Brothers because your
no,
brothers were involved as well?
I gave my two brothers a small percentage in the
MashaAllah.
business
Alhamdulillah.
to help them,
Yeah.
I said, take a gamble with me and see what happens, inshallah.
Yeah.
So they said, okay. And they didn't do nothing, they just put a little bit of money in. And then, mashallah, the rest is history, really.
Alhamdulillah.
So it's been good, but business is up and down. It's not easy.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
But alhamdulillah, steady, we're still surviving up to 20 years,
Oh, alhamdulillah.
maybe 22 years. Yeah.
I know our organisation from back almost 10 years ago now, we benefited from the Goss refrigerator because they used to give us free chicken nuggets. And it was very hard to find chicken nuggets in Brisbane. So we used it for selling and fundraising. So jazakallah for that.
No, alhamdulillah. We've tried to do what we can for the community over the years.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. And that's what it's about. It's about not our business, it's about many businesses. They have the capacity. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the business. They've given them great businesses. Big or small, doesn't matter if you've got a coffee shop or you have a car park or you're in building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just that support in general. Like if you're supporting your brother or your sister in their business, subhanAllah, it allows them to go next level. And subhanAllah as well, you sort of feel good that, you've done something to make something easier for
I think
someone.
it's very important, and a lot of us have missed the boat on that.
Yeah.
That we think that, we're going to give this brother or this organisation.
Yeah.
you will never lose anything.
Yeah.
You'll actually gain.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you the story because you know the story. Everyone knows the story out there. You give and Allah will double it, and so on and so forth. So it's important, especially on this platform too, that we want to get businesses in here too.
Yeah.
We want to talk about their businesses. We
Yeah.
want to see what their struggles were and where they went and where they are, how the community can be united and support that restaurant, support that brother that's building houses or selling land. We have to be united,
Yeah.
and not united just in the mosque, but united on the street,
Yeah.
united in the shopping
100%
centres,
in
and so on and
everything
so
that we're
forth.
doing. Yeah.
We have to be open-minded and not be stingy. Not be stingy because he's going to become a millionaire. We don't want the next brother. We want the next 50 brothers to become millionaires.
Yeah.
Because their assets are our assets, inshallah.
We want everybody to grow,
Yes.
inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, so that's where we're striving. Inshallah, one day we will be millionaires here. We'll be the millionaires table. Inshallah.
I just love to. I would really love to know. Like, so Hajji, what drives you? You know, like what drives you to continue to do what you do? I know, like,
Well,
you're
95% of my time,
Yeah.
with all due respect, is not family.
no.
It is community-based.
Community-based,
I,
yeah.
I can tell you, 95. I'm on call 724.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what I do, not just for the Gold Coast community, what I do for around Australia, I do it for the sake of Allah. Because now we never know when we're going to leave this world.
Yeah.
And we have to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is writing all the good stuff down. It's being written down. And all the bad stuff is being written down too.
Yeah.
We need to have the scales in the right way when we leave this world. It's very, very important that all of us try to do something good.
Yeah.
What drives me is that I get the thrill of helping people.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
That's honest truth. I'm no hero.
Yeah.
Everybody is a hero doing that. Some of us stand out a bit more than others. Yes, I've been doing it for a long time, but I want to continue to do as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, someone needs our support. Somebody needs our. We can't just leave it to the ulama.
Yeah.
We can't just leave it to the big muftis. They are there. They're for us. They're for us to make the big decisions.
Yeah.
They're for us to make the big. But at the end of the day, we as leaders, we as educated people, we as business people, we as teachers,
As individuals,
male and female
yeah.
individuals, everybody can do something.
Yeah.
Just like how we spoke about your father, the little bit of akhlaq in every single action that we do, it builds up.
Yeah.
The akhlaq of our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was the one that spread Islam.
Yeah.
He didn't spread it with money.
Yeah.
He spread it with his akhlaq.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't say I've got the best akhlaq, but we can strive to be better.
Better. Yeah.
We can strive to be better. It's very important, you know. And I know that inshallah, that if we are united as a community, the other church organisations are,
Yeah.
and they're doing it. And I'm not going to mention who they are, but you know who they are.
Yeah.
And we can do the same. And we are getting there,
Yeah.
but we have a long way to go.
Khair, inshallah.
No, it's nice, Jazakallah, because you know what? Often we look at we have to look outside for us to grow. Like Hajji just mentioned, the non-Muslim community, the church community are doing certain things, and you know we don't come up with the idea in the first place, but we think hey, it's working for them, and we must adapt and take what's good from what they're doing.
100%, and I think I mean look at this platform as well. You know, something that is modern, that Sheikh mentioned is high tech. You know, it's people are today they don't have time, you know, for reading. You know, people are listening to audio books now just to sort of get through all sorts of things, and you know the podcast platform has become extremely common. You know, and Alhamdulillah, it's given so many people an opportunity to sort of hear these amazing stories.
Alhamdulillah. And you know what the thing is, look at that beautiful piece of history right there. Subhanallah. It's even in typewriter format as well.
Yeah,
typewriter font.
I just something caught my eye is that this is the current month of Islam, the Rajab, and how long would it have taken for the post to come from the UK to Gold Coast?
Phew, who knows?
It would have been a couple months later.
Easy couple of months, yeah.
MashaAllah. Hajji, tell us a bit more about, like, I went to the function, that food festival on the weekend, and when I called you, again, Jazakallah for pulling strings for us last minute, but you referred us to a youngster, and then on the day I said, MashaAllah, it's a good event, and you pulled this youngster straight away to try and tell him, hey, this is what Imam's telling me about this function, you need to hear it straight away. What's happening there? Is he like a mentor? Is he who?
Was that Abdullah?
Yes.
Yeah, he was the one that got married yesterday.
Ah,
Mashallah.
subhanallah.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
Yes. So we worked him right up to the last minute, of course. Because I'm a person that wants blood.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, if you give blood, you got my heart.
Yeah.
Okay. And now Abdullah, mashallah, he was the boy who was born on the Gold Coast, Egyptian parents, and mashallah, always been in Islam. Been on Jamaat, mashallah, studied, and he's only 19, and inshallah he will go overseas probably to study soon. Okay, and he helped us coordinate this event, and this is his third one. And mashallah, as you said, it was a great event.
It was great.
And this brought the wider community.
Yeah.
We believe there was over 50% Muslim and 50% non-Muslim.
Wow.
Yeah.
We were trying to achieve the non-Muslim.
Yeah.
And mashallah, the Australian community really enjoyed it.
Alhamdulillah.
I've noticed that even at like our Eid festivals as well, that there is this percentage of people that will just come regardless. I don't know if it's the food, if it's the rides, whatever it is, but from the wider community, they will just make their way down and come and enjoy a really good festival. And I think we do put on a pretty good show whenever we're doing things. We really try to get the other community involved as much as we can.
And again, this touches on the point that we live in a very multicultural society.
Yeah.
And this platform again is not just for the brothers and the Muslim brothers and sisters. This is for the community.
Yeah,
because
100%.
Hajji, you've done a lot, not just for the Muslim community, but also for the Australian community. So all I want to say is Jazakallah khair for coming on. It's been a wonderful experience, to be able to spend some time with you, and to also to get to know you a little bit better. Kaz?
Yeah, no, alhamdulillah, it was really special. Definitely for our first podcast. Inshallah, we're hoping to go from strength to strength from this podcast, inshallah. And to have you in our inaugural podcast is absolutely amazing. I think we're still starstruck.
We were so thrilled to have you here. Like, you have no idea. This podcast was in the making for a while, and we had a big list of people. And Hajji, you're number one.
Yeah,
you're number one. We had to be with you. We had to be with you.
Look, Jazakallah khair for inviting me, and alhamdulillah, if it's to do good and spread good news, inshallah. Then I think we should all be a part of it,
Ameen.
And, I think Academy Live, being the first podcast, inshallah, and many more over the years to come, inshallah.
Inshallah.
I would want the community, and I speak out now to all the community, be part of this, be part of it, and inshallah, we will see the benefits will come in the future.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give not just uncle, but all of us sincerity and steadfastness
Ameen,
in
ameen.
pursuing the path of Allah subhanahu wa
Ameen.
ta'ala.
Ameen.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept uncles and all of everyone's effort, inshallah, and did not allow any of it to go to waste,
Ameen.
inshallah. Jazakallah again
Shukran
for having
jazilan.
myself as well.
Oh, yeah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam.